Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video, I'm getting new bookshelves. So I'm going to take you through the whole process. I'm actually filming this last because I'm terrible at planning. But anyways, to past me who is going to take you through every step of this process. So the first step in this process is going to be moving this little set of drawers over into the closet because the new little set of bookshelves are going to be going between my tall bookshelves here and my short bookshelves here, meaning my short bookshelves are moving this way and I'm no longer going to have room for the set of drawers. So I've already done like a big closet clear out in order to put these drawers over there. Okay, so the little set of drawers has officially been removed. It now exists in the closet, and the shelves have arrived. Or shelf, rather. It's just one shelf. And the box is rather large. I was kind of surprised. It is pretty light, though. But what I'm picturing is that this shelf is just gonna be one column of what I currently have, essentially. Slightly taller, like maybe an inch or two, and maybe slightly wider based on the measurements online. So I'm hoping that holds true and that it takes up about this much space over here because I don't have much room before we hit the door. But anyways, so yes, the next steps in the process for me are to clear off this shelf so that it can move that way, build this shelf so that it can go right between these two shelves. So yeah, that's the next step. Okay, so this box is much teenier. I feel much more confident that it's the right size now. I might end up enlisting my husband's help for this. We shall see. Who ever thought that it was a good idea not to put any words on instructions? You can ignore my technique because I just hope I'm doing this right. It'll be the worst if I'm doing this wrong and I've ruined these things that I've purchased. They were only $40, but still. I'm trying to be very observant. I have no idea how this is gonna translate into the final shelf, but the picture matches, so I'm going with it. I think it matches. I think this is right. Things have officially started to come together. There's no turning back now. If I've made a mistake, oh well. It's starting to look like a shelf. Yes, I could not find a flathead screwdriver, so I am using a dime. Whoopsie. The moment when you realize you're a dum-dum. I put the brown side facing the inside. So just like as essentially a little tester to make, or to see how bad my mistake looks, I have put some books on the shelf. It's not terrible, honestly. Maybe I'll get some stickers and decorate the back wall a little. Okay, so this shelf is built, mistakes and all. Should have I waited for my husband to just do it for me? Perhaps, but you know, it's gonna be full of books, so the back is gonna mostly be covered up by books anyways. And like I said, maybe I'll get some stickers or something, I don't know. It's fine. But the next step is to, like I said, clear off this shelf so I can move it that away and put this one in place and then rearrange my bookshelves. So that'll be the next part that you really get to see, is the rearrangement of the books. You guys, it is such a tight fit, but we made it. I don't know if I love how it looks. obviously the brown back is not helping. It'll probably look better once there are some books on it. But yeah, time for the rearrange. First, I'm gonna put all my books back exactly how they were on the original shelf here. And then work from there on which ones I want to kind of transfer onto these 3 shelves. It's gonna mostly be like my YA books and my dystopians that were over there, because those were the shelves that were kind of overflowing. But yeah, this is just kind of a stopgap to have a little bit of extra room until we one day maybe get a house, if that ever happens, at which point I might completely get all brand new shelves that fit that house better. But who knows if or when that will ever happen. So yeah, this is the shelf set up in its original configuration. And like I said, I think, yeah, the top shelf here is probably going to be overflow from my 2 YA shelves. This shelf will be overflow from dystopia, and the bottom shelf is probably going to mostly be nonfiction. So we'll start with the top, the YA shelf. I'm going to tear apart my 2 existing YA shelves and figure out which ones I want to put on this shelf. So my more like romancy YAs are on this top shelf, and then my more like neutral YAs, I guess, are on the bottom shelf. So I'm gonna try to keep the general idea of that setup going, and we'll just have to see what fits where. I have my Rainbow Rowell books, which I definitely want to keep together. And originally I had my 2 Jennifer Niven books here, but Eliza and Her Monsters is so similar to Fangirl that I wanted to like pair them. So I might end up putting Jennifer Niven in like a spot of honor here on this shelf, because the reason I had her displayed at the front was because I really, really like these 2 books. So those are there for now. These stay together. So these are already kind of overflowy books. This one's kind of in that category. Same with this one. This one. Beth Cooper is more comedy than romance, although it does have a romance. This one can go there. Oh gosh. I think we're gonna see what I can do with what I've already pulled. I do have an extra space here. I don't know what to do with this space. This one matches nicely. It's not like my most favorite YA book, but it's keeping the green theme going. I'll do that for now. One thing about this shelf is now I feel like I'm gonna have almost too much room, but that's not a bad problem to have. For a second I was considering centering the rainbow books. No, just no. I think I'm gonna have to pull all the books on this bottom shelf forward, because I'm no longer gonna have like enough books for the setup where I like put things in front and then things in back. Not ideal, but whatever. Okay, so I think these 2 shelves are probably how I'm gonna keep them. I still don't love Windfall having such a prominent place, but it looks nice. So now to set up the shelf in some way. Oh, it's so close. I think I'm gonna put these sideways like this, and then just have enough books here to fill in the remaining space. Oh yes. It's tight fit, but we made it work. Now this looks a little bit empty, so I think I'll just stick my bears there. Yeah. Which means these guys can all move forward. And there we go. First shelf, a success. I have just enough to make the shelf look worth having gotten on this particular one. We'll see how the rest work out. But yes, I've also just opened up a lot more space. I used to have 3 books sitting at the top here, so this shelf was just entirely full. This shelf also had 3 books sitting on the books at the back on top. So again, both shelves were just really bursting, and now I have so much more space. I can fit at least like 9 more books between these 2 and just a bunch more books on here. So this is going pretty well. Now for the dystopian shelf, which for this one, like this is a dystopian, but my shelf was so full that I had put it over onto like my children's bookshelf, which is just not where it belongs. But I put it there just because I had the first girl child there, which this one actually has also been kind of weirdly placed because it's not really a children's book, but a lot of my children's books are fantasy books, and so I just put it there because my fantasy shelf way over here is also pretty full. But I'm gonna continue to leave it down there for now. It's fine. I also am just overflowing a bit on this shelf, obviously. Oh my gosh, plus the Chaos Walking trilogy I think is technically considered dystopian, although to me it also is sci-fi and definitely reads more sci-fi. So I've also had that like on a kind of random shelf all this time. Ember is on a random shelf. I have a lot of dystopians on somewhat random shelves. So I think I'm gonna take them all out and try to like break them down into 2 categories and fit them on this shelf and this shelf. Not sure what those 2 categories are gonna be. Let's figure it out. We have an obvious option of classic dystopians, but I don't actually have very many of those. So might not be enough to make its own category. These ones aren't really even fully dystopians. I mean, they kind of are. Again, it's a case where like they're dystopian, but really they're more almost like romantic soap operas. These are 2 like dystopian series of which I only have the first book because I didn't like the rest of the books in the series. Maybe that could be its own category. The Giver was on a random shelf. I don't really like this book though. Dry is kind of a dystopian and it can be put with Scythe, also by Neal Shusterman. It would be nice to put them back together again. But Downsiders is also Neal Shusterman and it's definitely not a dystopian, although it is about a different sort of society. So they still all pair well together. I might build one of the shelves based around the fact that all of the Neal Shusterman books have to fit on it. Again, Cinder also could kind of fall into the sci-fi and the dystopian category. It again is another case where it leans much more sci-fi. They often mix. I think I want 2 front-facing trilogy stacks on my 2 dystopian shelves, and those are obviously going to be the Hunger Games and the Scythe trilogy. So we'll say the Hunger Games is for the original shelf, the Scythe trilogy is for the new shelf, which means Dry and Downsiders also have to go on the new shelf. Last Book in the Universe is my like favorite book of all time, so it's actually going to go on top of the Hunger Games in this little stack. And then maybe I'll put the more girl-centered dystopians behind the Hunger Games. So that would be the 1000th Floor series, The Grace Year, Matched, and The Program. And does that fill up the shelf all by itself? Maybe. Nope. But it's a good start. Ember is about a girl, and The Handmaid's Tale is about a girl. Oh wait, but The Handmaid's Tale belongs above some of these. But does it belong above all of them? Realistically, yes. Do I make myself feel very bad and put this at the back of the shelf in order to make things fit more nicely? Perhaps. I have too many shelves. Okay, that's this shelf for now. I need to fill it in a little more. Now onto the other one, which again, don't really have enough books to fill it. Ooh, maybe I can do the trick like I did with this one. I think it's still not gonna be enough. Oh, maybe that's why, okay. Thoughts. That's not nearly enough space. I could do a front-facing book, and I think it's gonna have to be the Hunger Games for now. These shelves aren't as wide as my tall shelf, so the whole front-facing thing really works better on a wide shelf. Okay, this is gonna be a weird design, maybe. But I'm gonna try to cover this up a bit. Where are these guys? Oh, they're over there. Okay. With stuffed animals, Beanie Babies, just like I did up here. Totally fine. All right, shelf number 2 complete, the dystopian shelf. Once again, I have so much more room, a little bit too much room right now. It looks a little bit sad, but the whole point of this is that I was starting to overflow, and this is not only, this isn't just to make them look nicer, this is so that I also even have room to grow beyond this at some point. So now the final shelf is gonna be kind of a non-fiction shelf, I think. I don't know, it's not really in frame because it's way over on the right side at the bottom. But my shelf of just kind of random collection of notebooks slash nonfiction stuff is the most overflowing shelf on my bookshelves. So I'm gonna move a good like half of it over to this shelf and try to give it some sort of a actual organization, which it does not currently have. So yeah, like just random like cookbooks and some notebooks and my own books and comics and nonfiction stuff and folktales and fangirl stuff. Truly just a hodgepodge. I'm gonna try to put this into categories. There's definitely more than 2 categories here, but I'm gonna try to put it into 2 that make sense in my mind and put them back on the shelves. Which I'll just give like a close-up of both of them after I'm done doing that. Because again, that one's not in frame anyways. Okay, I have more than 2 categories, but I do have categories. So we've got like memoir situations, kind of educational nonfiction. Educational nonfiction that more so has to do with my job. This one's separated out because it's my favorite, so I want it to maybe be more visible slash accessible. And more like artsy type stuff. Stuff that's really just me related, that aren't really books at all, but I keep them on my shelves. And then like a poetry book and a folk legend book. So basically, the ones that I access a lot, like some of the ones that are in this pile and that pile, are gonna go on the shelf that's easier to access between these 2, which is the one that's not in a corner. And that's gonna be my first criteria, is how often do I personally need to access it. And then second criteria is just probably gonna be like, how pretty is it? How much do I enjoy it? So here we go, I'll check back in once they're on the shelves. Okay, so this is where we have ended up. I had a very sad realization while setting up this final shelf, and that is I can't stack books at the front of the shelves like I do with my other shelves. They're not deep enough. So that's kind of sad. I still obviously have a lot more shelf space than I used to. This is just kind of a hold me over shelf until some point in the future. So it's fine. And yeah, these are the books that made the cut of having the more accessible shelf. And these are the ones that did not. So yes, this is the final setup of all of the shelves. They look so busy and so full. The room looks more full, but it was time. I did have those few days where the new shelves hadn't arrived, but I had already moved the little black set of drawers that used to be over here, and the room seemed so much bigger just from that little set of drawers being gone. And now we're to this. So fun. And also, little update, by the way, I did put a few stickers on the shelves. Planning to kind of fill them all up, but this is what we've got so far. Yeah, that was it for getting my new bookshelf. It is a Billy bookshelf, by the way. I don't think I ever mentioned that in the video. It is my first ever Billy bookshelf. My original shelves were both from Menards, so I finally have one of those famous Billy bookshelves, even though I did it all wrong. And also, it's, you know, obviously not the big, tall, wide ones that a lot of other booktubers have. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. Remember, words matter.